lived in Sherman since 1984. I was the college librarian at Austin College for 10 years.
It's been a lot of time with you,
And
Mr.
by
Williams.
as you can tell from my clothes, I am a retired person at this time. I don't bother you with going over what you already know about the marker that is being requested, that you put it on as an agenda item and then vote upon. You already know what the practice of that is. The commission, the Grayson County Historical Commission has already passed that on to you. You have chosen not to put this on the agenda. Okay. I wish you would. There are a lot of other people that wish you would. In 1930, on May 9th, a man was denied his rights. He was summarily suffocated in the county courthouse building. The building was burned around him. I cannot imagine what that experience was like. Crowds of people screaming and hollering, the building burning around you, gunfire having been sent out, and you're stuck in a vault, and you suffocate and die. And then people cut through the vault and drag your body 4.5 blocks. 4.5 blocks. And then they hang that body and they set it on fire. Now, think about that. They drag the body 4.5 blocks over to East Mulberry. If you go over to East Mulberry now, there's parking lots. That was a thriving business community. Those people had their businesses burned to the ground. They were citizens of Grayson County. They were taxpayers of Grayson County. Can you imagine what the smell was like? The burning courthouse, the body soaked in gasoline and set on fire. Can you imagine what that was like? Last year, and continuing, is this issue called Black Lives Matter. And then the opposing one is All Lives Matter. Well, if in 1930 Black lives didn't matter, do they matter now? Are you willing to put this on the agenda, commemorate an event?
Thank you.
Are you willing to do that?
Thank you, sir. All right. Reverend Drenner. And full disclosure, another Austin College connection. His son and mine both play for the Ridge, so he is the Reverend Grayson United Methodist Church in Sherman. Reverend, you have the floor.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Frank Drenner. I live at 1612 Lambeth Circle in Sherman, pastor of Grayson United Methodist Church. I support the effort to establish a historical marker on the Grayson County Courthouse grounds, commemorating the lynching of George Hughes, the burning of the courthouse where he awaited trial, and the subsequent destruction of Black-owned businesses and homes nearly a century ago. Dr. James Cone, in his classic book, The Cross and the Lynching Tree, draws a connection between crucifixion, the death sentence imposed upon Jesus, and lynching. Dr. Cone says, quote, "Both the cross and the lynching tree were symbols of terror, instruments of torture and execution. Both Jesus and blacks were publicly humiliated, subjected to the utmost indignity and cruelty. In both cases, the purpose was to strike terror in the subject community. For nearly a century, a seditious effort has existed to keep the events of 1930 silent, forgotten, and ignored. As a result, many longtime residents of Grayson County are shocked to learn this story. For those who are painfully aware of these events, the refusal to confront this history is a source of great trauma. This, of course, is one of the goals of lynching. Silence and inaction inflict violence as well. In the book of Genesis, God confronts Cain after the murder of his brother Abel. Cain is dismissive, asking the haunting question, How should I know? Am I my brother's guardian? God keeps the pressure on Cain. What did you do? The voice of your brother's blood is crying to me from the ground. As painful as the Cain and Abel story is, it has been told for millennia so that people would appreciate the value of human life and that God alone has ultimate power over it. One of the lessons of the story, beyond the horror of violence, is that yes, we are meant to be guardians of each other. We are guardians of the events of 1930. Sharing the story, rather than keeping it silent, allows the horror and violence to be redeemed.
30 seconds, sir.
As county judge and county commissioners, you have the ability to move this effort forward. Allow the historical marker to be placed at the Grayson County Courthouse where these terrible, long-lasting events occurred. The voice of the blood of George Hughes calls to us from these grounds. It is time to listen and act. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir. All right. Ms. Smith. You will just again identify yourself and your address for the record, ma'am. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Jenna Garcia Smith. I live at 4807 Vivaldi Crossing. Commissioner Lawrence, you're my commissioner. I stand before you as a third-generation Grayson County resident, a Sherman High School graduate, my daughter and my granddaughter of the 4th and 5th generations of Grayson County. Our roots run deep. I'm here today to ask you to place on your agenda and approve the establishment of a historical marker regarding the 1930 Sherman riot. My mother was a 10-year-old child and a witness to the tragedies of May 1930. I have known this history all of my life. My mother and her parents and her sister stayed at home for 2 weeks, afraid to leave, fearful. My mother spoke of the beautiful courthouse, burned to the ground. She told me of George Hughes' death and the lynching at the hands of that awful, angry crowd of businesses destroyed, black businesses, livelihoods gone. Hard to picture as a child. But she told me the truth, an unimaginable truth. In a nation where due process of law is enshrined in our Constitution, a man not yet convicted, suffering unimaginable death. Many of my contemporaries have been unaware of this history, our history, until just the recent publicity regarding the riot and lynching. Of course, you know all the publicity from the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Dallas Morning News, and of course our local news, and the many advocates who have spoken here before you. The story is even told in this book, The Warmth of Other Suns, by Isabel Wilkerson, a Pulitzer Prize-winning author. Many eyes are on us, are on the 5 of you, watching, wondering. I know this is closed discussion and you cannot respond to me, but you can respond to the public outside of this session, and I ask you to please do so. I implore you. It is time to acknowledge the history of our county. It is time to move forward and state that we have learned and have remembered. History has a lesson for us all. Knowing the history allows us all to heal. There are 2 ways an elected official can approach his or her elected responsibility. First, they can act as a mirror image of the will of the majority. Another way is to do the right thing, even if it is not the view of the majority.
30 seconds.
Thank you. John F. Kennedy wrote of such persons, including Sam Houston, in his Pulitzer Prize-winning book, Profiles in Courage. Please do not continue to let silence be your answer. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And I apologize, I did not recognize you behind the mask.
It's okay. Lots of people know.
All righty. Maureen Kane Stevenson. Maureen, you just state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Maureen Kane Stevenson. I live at 3700 Melrose Trail in Sherman. And thank you guys for the opportunity to speak today. Over the past few weeks, this court has heard from an historian. You've heard from pastors. You've heard from a freedom rider. You've heard from several citizens, including a very insightful Tom Bean teenager, who I wish I could be as eloquent as. everyone has spoken out strongly advocating the placement of an historical marker commemorating the riot of 1930, remembering our history. This history that led to the burning of the courthouse and the Black Business District. You've also heard several eloquent speakers this morning, and I can't top what they've said. So my question for you is why? Why have you not put this on the agenda for a vote? What possible negative consequences could arise from putting this on the agenda? And could they be worse than the national attention we've already gotten here, focused on Grayson County for not even considering putting this on the agenda? I've spoken to a few of you, and we've talked about this, and you've said, nobody wants to remember this dark, horrific piece of our history. I have to disagree. Look at the number of people who have signed the petition. Look at the number of calls, emails, and texts that y'all have received. Look at the number of people back here who show up at these meetings to ask you to please put this on the agenda. We want to recognize it. We need to remember it, lest we forget the evil that humans are capable of. But we also need to remember it to remind us that we're better and we can be better. It's not for us to choose our history, you know that. We can't selectively omit the parts that are uncomfortable. It's our duty to remember it and to learn from it. The decisions of this body, of all of you, reflect on all of us and our entire county. And the world is watching. You have a unique opportunity right here and now to do something good, to recognize our history and to stand on the right side of it. Whichever way you go, you will be remembered for this. So do the right thing. Put this marker on your agenda, and as we, your constituents, have asked you to do, vote to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.